unlikely to motivate any new swing voters and risk dissuading already despondent infrequent Democratic voters who had supported Biden in 2020. The strategists say they also attempted to have big donors and battleground state party chairs convey the same argument to Harris's campaign. Another Democratic operative close to Harris World, nice, says they were sent says they sent memos and data to the Harris campaign staffers underscoring how, amongst other things, Republican voters, believe it or not, vote Republican, you don't say. And that the data over the past year screamed that Democrats instead needed to reassure and energize the liberal base and dimly leaning working class in battleground states. We were told basically, get lost, no thank you, says the operative. A Harris spokesperson did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Following the Harris's campaign crushing loss to Trump, there's an argument made by that Democrats never really stood a chance this election cycle given Joe Biden's unpopularity and Americans' unhappiness with the brutal economy. But Harris exerted far more effort attempting to appeal to Republicans, moderates, and independents than the Democratic base, which has been demoralized in part by Biden's continued support for Israel's brutal war in Gaza. Exit polls suggest Democrats had major turnout issues. The portion of the 2024 electorate that identified as Democratic.
What didn't really matter? The war in Gaza, it turns out it didn't really matter. I'm sorry, but I mean, it's a factor, but it didn't really matter in foreign policy. Wasn't foreign policy. But I explained anyway, folks. It wasn't. It was actually identity politics. That's what I said it was. And it wasn't by the Harris team. It was by Donald Trump. And he used their identity against her. So that's why she really lost. So even if she didn't do good on Gaza, they still would have lost. I mean, probably, most likely. I mean, no. They would have won Michigan, but yeah. But this is about Cenk and TYT, folks. This is 7 days ago, and this is a leftist streamer, Twitch streamer. See, the leftists hate Cenk because he hates the left. Listen to this video. I'm making this video to prove that TYT and Cenk he hates the left. He's not a so-called leftist. He's a fraud. You really hate the left, Cenk. I do agree on certain views. He's more like a liberal. He shouldn't call himself a leftist or a progressive. He just call himself like a liberal. And actually, he's misleading his audience. Seeing that he's a leftist. If you're a progressive, that means you're a leftist. But he doesn't really call himself a leftist, I guess. He's a capitalist. Some kind of capitalist populist, something like that. Is any such thing? There's such a thing, I guess. Then I'm trying to prove these guys, TYT. I shouldn't say TYT, because they have leftists on there who are actually leftists. I mean, so I guess he wants to have a debate with his own audience. He doesn't argue with his own audience. His own audience too. He argues with his own people. His own staffers and commentators. They're the true leftists. That's why we're still watching it. People still watching it because of those leftists. They're still on the show. So him and Anna are terrible. And they're more like move more to the right. They're more like they complain about corporate Democrats, but they're more like corporate Democrats. In a way, they're like corporate Democrats. And they're posing as the progressives or leftists. Cenk and Anna, how am I saying? Anyways, I'm gonna play more of this.
It just declined significantly compared with past presidential elections. former White House press secretary and MSNBC host Jen Psaki said on Friday on Morning Joe that Democrats had spent too much time listening to and lifting up Republicans who left Trump and the Never Trump movement. People who left the Democratic Party are the people who are going to win the future, she said. The people who left Trump, the Never Trumpers who have important voices. That is not.
That's a Cenk Chuck. I never heard. Oh, I never realized that. What's her name? Psaki. Jen Psaki. No, she's right about that. They focus on the Never Trumpers too much.
Not a winning coalition. Interestingly, Bill Kristol, a top Never Trump Republican, this right-wing guy, not anti-Trump, but that's about it, right? Publicly urged Harris in the final weeks of the campaign to pitch a progressive, populist, economic message against Trump and his army of billionaire supporters. In late October, he wrote on X, feels like maybe Kamala Harris should embrace Elizabeth Warren's ultra-millionaire tax and barnstorm on that for the next few days. Wow.
The party's on our side, and Jordan just showed that to you. 80% of Democrats agree with that, 52% of all Americans agree with that, even despite all of this overwhelming propaganda against the trans community. But the minute you get the trans people playing in, trans women playing in women's sports,
crazy,
it falls off a cliff, and all of a sudden you're down to 26%, let alone undocumented.
See, nobody cares about trans, whatever. My God. And the ad that the Trump ad, they're talking about the Trump ad. They should have defended that. I mean, well, say something on that. They should have somehow defended that. Well, she said, "Oh, that's not the policy I'm doing. That's not my policy. It's not our policy of giving aid, giving migrants like trans surgery or whatever, or not even surgery, treatment. It's not our policy right now. It's actually Donald Trump's policy. Donald Trump. Well, actually, that's from the Democrats. But Donald Trump didn't get rid of it, interestingly. So they should have done something better answer. But it's not the reason why they lost. This is about Cenk saying that they lost because of the leftists and the woke. He's like the mainstream media, so-called mainstream media, and lamestream media saying that they lost because of the left and leftist policies. It's garbage.
Trans immigrants getting taxpayer-funded surgery.
Unless you can name how many people that applies to, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Like, her biggest failure was an inability to clap back against those criticisms. You want to talk about the need to move on? Then Kamala Harris needs to move on from Joe Biden. And she can make that argument. Because the problems experienced under the Biden administration were handed to him by the Trump administration. The issue of prices started because of Trump's failed response to the pandemic. If she could have spent more time talking about that and less time talking...
Making a great point. You have no answer for that. And they were doing inflation and everything. And this Cenk he just focused on the culture wars. That's the thing about these guys. Like even this woman's whatever, I think she's a trans person. And even she doesn't go in, or he, I guess she doesn't go into the culture wars like the Cenk. Like they're not worried about, what's that? I mean, these guys just do go into the culture wars. Cenk, Anna. They clap back at their own audience. I think they hate their own audience.
talking about how Trump is a danger to democracy, a message which had already failed with Biden, she might have had a better chance. But we'll never know, will we?
My guess is that polls around 2%. So, and it's not.
And on this shit, she could, and she did. She started to say, like, I mean, I've heard her response to this, that policy offering gender confirming surgery to undocumented prisoners was the same as under Trump. That's a continuation.
Yeah.
Of Trump's policy, right?
Trump's policy.
Because again, that policy is a question between doctor and patient. That's not a question between that should be litigated in the political arena. And that's all you need to say. And she had the right instincts on that, just not
you know why it is? Because it says taxpayers' money. That's why they're saying that. That's why it's political. They clap back at that a little bit. It shouldn't be, but they do the culture. It's a cultural war. That's why it shouldn't be. I mean, they wade right into the culture war, the Democrats. But once you say taxpayers' money, then that it does have a meaning to people. I mean,
the wherewithal to actually put together an effective ad to counterbalance that. The other thing that would have counterbalanced that message, because remember, the message is not just she supports they, them, right? It's she doesn't support you. Well, fucking support people. Do something for people. Push the Biden administration to create a more resilient social safety net in a way that's universal, in a way that's for everyone. Instead of, reducing the stimulus payment by $600, they should have been looking for different ways to put more money in everyone's pocket, not just a child tax credit. Not just...
See, this person is really based. He's really based, folks. I guess she or whatever. She can. I don't know. I shouldn't say she, him. Because she's really based. This person's really based. More than TYT. I mean, TYT, and she said it too. TYT's outdated, and she's right.
Something that's directed at parents. Something that helps everyone. That is the role that Democrats have fulfilled, and I am saying this as somebody who does not, who is to the left of liberalism, who is to the left of the Democratic Party. But even I can tell them that they're not living up to their bargain, to their New Deal.
No, shit lib like Cenk. Yeah.
With workers.
An accident that the Trump team, once they started running that ad, saw in great polling out of that ad and ran it again and again and again. And by then it was their number one ad and they'd run it for $40 million worth. So are you guys saying that ad didn't hurt and that we should keep going in that direction?
I'm not going to repeat myself. I don't know.
It's going to be hard to quantify what effect it had, but based on not just that one Gallup poll, but exit polls, other public opinion polls of what people's priorities were, we saw for months in the run-up and in the immediate aftermath, voters were largely motivated by the economy, economic policy, and their material conditions. So I think it might have changed the perception, but
and economy and immigration. Foreign policy was down, even though Gaza was a big thing. It wasn't foreign policy. I mean, and this thing here that he's talking about trans whatever rights. That was trans sports actually. That wasn't a big concern either. It was the one now that named the top of the list. What people are concerned about. I think democracy, immigration, and the economy. That's the top three. I mean, Even crime, he talks about crime. Crime wasn't on the list either. It's way down on the list. I think he's going to talk about crime too, I think, or maybe not. We'll see.
I don't think it was what motivated people to either stay home or vote against Harris or vote for Trump. You look at where it ranked on that list. I mean, there was 22 different topics on there, and it was dead last.
Again, the demagoguery that the Republicans want to do, whether it's against immigrants or trans people, or in this case, the 2 or 3 trans immigrants that might have received gender confirming care, right? This shit doesn't work. This shit doesn't matter when you're not failing the job of making sure that American workers can afford to pay for the things that they need. And that's done through raising the minimum wage once in a while, at the very least. And that's also done through instituting social safety net programs when they are needed, instituting them universally. Because the whole thing with capitalism is that it's got recession, depression, inflation, and all the other kinds of economic misery baked into the cake. It's going to happen. It's going to happen, right? So the whole New Deal, the whole compromise between workers and capital that the Democrats negotiated back in the 30s and 40s was to maintain a buy-in for workers
up here, but now there are freaking communists invading
into the economy, into the profits, into the productivity. They no longer have that. Their wages are flat, their prices go up. What do you think they're going to feel? And when you tell them there is no recession, which is true, but what we had wasn't a recession, and they're fucking miserable, they're going to say that you're blowing smoke up their ass. You've got to do something. And I hate to be putting the political consultant hat on for the Democrats, Jack, because like I said, I'm not a Democrat. I think America needs something a little stronger medicine than anything liberalism is willing to offer. I see the liberal and the conservative parties, the Democrat and the Republican parties, as 2 sides of capitalism incorporated.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that is a mode of production we need to move past. But we're lacking the class consciousness to do that.
You're right about that. She's more based than these guys. This liberal, the so-called Cenk. This woman's more based than these guys. I mean, man, she could join RBN. Hey, man. These guys talk about class. Even they're more based. She's more based than these. Than a lot of left. She's more based on a lot of leftist shows. I mean, wow. She doesn't believe in a duopoly. That's great. And I have a video on that too.
People don't even realize when you think that you've got more.
I think it's time the leftists should right now get out of the Democratic Party. We'll make another video, but I think before I was wrong. This election, we should have voted. I would have voted Democrat, even if I was in a blue state. If you know what's happening, all kinds of things happening. I respect those people, the Arab Americans who want to stay home. They have because of their view, what's going on in the Middle East, Palestinians. They want to stay home. But I don't appreciate the ones who voted for Trump, though. It doesn't make any sense. But I think but despite that, that didn't matter anyways in the polls. It wasn't the top. Wasn't the top thing in the polls, so maybe it mattered in Michigan. That's what they should have won Michigan, but most likely Pennsylvania. I don't know. Gosh, she lost all the swing states. But besides that, the Democratic Party, you had to vote You have to vote Democrat this election because what's going on is going to be really bad, folks. I think it's going to be really bad. Trump, total fascist. So you had to vote Democrat. Cenk is right on that. Cenk said that the Democrat. Because you could do your issues. You could fight with the Democrats. And this is not teaching them a lesson. I mean, not voting for them. They said this is to teach them a lesson. They're not going to learn any lesson. They don't care. They don't care, folks. So, it's all bullshit anyway. This is like they wanted to lose. They want this guy in power. That seems like to me. I mean, they want this guy in power for some reason, one reason or wrong. I should know. There's a reason why. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it, but yeah, not the time to vote third party. I guess I was wrong about that. The next election, if they won, is next time they went to go third party. Could fight them. Trump's not running again. I mean, if he had lost, he'd probably go to jail. And, yeah. No, and he's gonna run again. He's not gonna run again. There might be a MAGA Republican out there. I don't know, it's not the same without Trump. Would his movement survive? That's a good thing. I mean, that's a good thing to think about. If he had lost. So, the other one, they could have, now and then the next election, when Trump's gone and maybe the MAGA movement dies, who knows? I wonder what's not going to happen. In the Project 2025, he had lost. They maybe try it again in 28, but it wouldn't have been the same thing. I don't think it would be as it wouldn't have a strong effect if another guy steps in, J.D. Vance. So I don't think he would be a lot of. I mean, if somebody like Steve Bannon runs, oh my God, that's terrible. Something like that, some weirdo, straight racist, fascist. I mean, worse than Trump. Somebody worse than Trump would run. That's the only, they might try to implement it if it wasn't for Trump. If it wasn't Trump, it would be somebody like that. But I don't know if somebody like that would run again anyways. If they had lost. So the next election, then the next election, you could have voted third party. I mean, actually. But now now it's too late.
Separate from each other than you have in common. When you think that a undocumented worker is not going through the same kind of trials and tribulations as you are, maybe to a greater extent. It's not when you don't realize that person is putting food on your table, and that without that person, your food would be even more expensive, right? And whether we're talking about, agricultural, whether we're talking about, harvesting, or whether we're talking about, meat packing and slaughtering, that work is done by these people that Trump is demonizing. And if he does succeed in deporting everyone from the country, we will all be worse for it. This is an argument that was never fucking made. This is an argument that you never heard, because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris caved into Trump's policy in the springtime. So it's loser liberals.
They run the most, Jordan. Why did it work the best?
I don't even think it worked the best, because I was just in Arizona and Nevada multiple times over the past couple months, and I saw the ad of her on The View saying there was nothing different that she would do than what Biden did. I saw that way more.
Yeah, this is huge.
Than the trans ad. And then within that, they just conflated the Biden administration, the 4 years of Biden with Kamala Harris.
Yeah, and that's the argument that she needed to be at least fighting back on.
And they said we can't afford.
And there is a route for fighting back on it. But you gotta have some teeth, you gotta have a spine, and you gotta take on the fucking corporations.
4 more years.
You gotta have less Hillary Clinton and more Bernie Sanders. If that's the kind of campaign that you want to run, and that should be the campaign that you want to run if you don't want to become as irrelevant as the Whig Party.
But that was not their number one ad. Their number one ad was the trans ad. And
but
because it was just polling through the roof.
It's also a messaging thing. And here's the thing. The Harris campaign did not have their hands tied. They had 3 times the money. They had $1 billion. They had an ad budget of $700 million. They spent $40 million on that ad. Get out and spend 80. Spend 120 on
defending your most unpopular position?
No, you need a simple message on that, and you shouldn't throw trans people under the bus. You don't you don't just abandon something because it's
But that's not throwing
inconvenient.
trans people under the bus.
Yes, it is.
Wait, an undocumented immigrant comes into the country and says, I demand these.
That's not her policy.
But brother,
Yeah.
you just got here. What are you demanding?
Jeff,
Something from
you're
me for?
That is such an outlier.
Do you understand also that you're opening the door to denying all kinds of medical care to all people? If they can successfully agitate, to take the healthcare away from the 2 to 3 individuals that this might actually apply to, right? Then next they're gonna well, why should we be paying for prisoners' medical care at all? Okay, why should?
It's a great point, folks. So we don't pay for prisoners then. That's a great point. I mean, how about that's cruel and unusual punishment? They get shot or something, you don't let them die. What if you do a non-violent crime? I mean, a simple misdemeanor or whatever. You get hurt, so we don't treat you. It's a slippery slope. So yeah, you're right about that. But this is this is like a minuscule of the population. I mean, like how many people are doing this? That's like she said before. You're doing these surgeries, not many. Not even a 1% are doing this surgery. It's non-story, and they bought into this culture war. And so these people like Cenk Uygur, and they're fueling it because they're making a big deal. Actually, they're actually fueling the thing. They're making it a big deal. And trans sports, that's another thing.
Should we? I mean, these are the people that say they want to take down Obamacare. They're going to pay for a lot less people's medical care in general, and you have just opened the door to that. You have set the precedence of weakness and of a lack of fighting back. And you have told all of your constituencies that when the time comes, you too will be thrown under the bus. That does not make a strong party. That makes a weak party. And the Democrats are a historically and profoundly weak party, and they have been such ever since the Reagan era.
It's not even her policy. It wasn't in her platform.
Except it was her policy.
4 years ago, she mentioned it at an event. It wasn't a part of her platform.
All right, so let's go to Jules.
Well, Jake, I think what you're doing, and I love you, but I think you're falling for a massive trap that Republicans never fall for, which is, like you said, they set up this domino of this tiny issue that rounds down to 0 and say this is the biggest issue of the election. And Democrats, not like leftists, but Democrats will jump in and say well, actually, here's the stats about this. So actually, we don't agree with let's say trans women in sports. But that's not what when Republicans do heinous stuff, the Republicans just say, yeah, who cares? We're not even going to talk about it. Democrats insist on having the conversation about stuff.
Yep. That's the thing. The Democrats do that, not the leftists. And Democrats go into the culture war, not leftists. And they blame in the left, the woke left. And the wokeism is garbage. And Cenk Uygur buys into this. And him and Anna buy into this. I mean, they buy into this crap. These two leftist guys. I thought these guys, I guess they like to keep these guys. I guess they want to do a debate and argument every time, I guess. But these guys are base. But TYT shouldn't be. This shouldn't be like a T. It should be like. They should call the name a different. You should change your name. It shouldn't be like a leftist show. It could be like a counterpoint, like breaking point. Like this. That's what it really is. That's what it should be like. You have different points of view and you argue it, like a debate. I mean, that's what it should be. But because they're not a leftist, it's supposed to be a leftist show. It's supposed to be a movement. A leftist populist network. But that's the news. Look at this bullshit. It's more like a grift. Now he's trying to do a populist movement with the MAGA. And this guy is a grift. And they're true leftists, and they're wasting their time there. If it's just like a news show, but they said they're a movement show. They advocate this and that. They do polls. It's like a movement. See, if it just stay as a news, like an entertainment, will be fine. But they advocate, like they're a leftist show, and they do advocacy. And they do try and do movements, and they don't really do anything. I mean, they pretend to be like that type of show. Start movements, go underground. They don't do. I mean, underground with certain issues, and they don't do that. They just cosplay as that. I mean, they virtual signaling. They don't really do that. And just garbage.
That essentially doesn't happen or happens in such a small way as to be useless or ineffective to the larger story. And Democrats will jump onto it in an effort to demonize leftists and secure their own position. And that's really frustrating. Like, it's crazy to me that trans women in
Great point, they demonize leftists.
Sports is a massive issue when, again, the percentage of people that this affects literally rounds down to zero, where stuff that actually matters and stuff that Republicans are doing.
Exactly. Cenk and Anna are obsessed with that. Trans women in sports.
The right answer to that question is you don't care about this issue. The Republicans are wasting your time talking about a non-existent problem. You care about money in your pocket, and our administration is going to put money in your pocket. Our administration is going to give you that piece of the pie that you've been cut out of by your fucking employer. Our administration is going to be responsible to the effects of inflation on your budget. And we're going to do the bare fucking minimum for a party that wants to call itself on the left and make sure that the working people can live like a halfway decent lifestyle. That's what shuts these bigots and assholes up and stops them from doing their demagoguing, which is an attempt to divide and conquer. And when you throw parts of your constituency under the bus, you enable that dividing and conquering. You do that work for them.
Is hand waved away with nothing, and it doesn't become part of the conversation. Nobody says,
you guys
hey, we should talk about that.
Wake up. If you're going to be a liberal, don't be a fucking loser liberal. We've tried that in this country, right? That's been tried. That was not effective.
You guys are not addressing what I'm saying. So when I go on right-wing shows, I tell them, look, I'm for 100% equality and justice. That's the most American thing you could be. Trans people should have all the rights that anybody else has. And guys, this affects about 7 people in the country. You're trying to pretend that this is the most important issue. This is the least important issue, the smallest issue there is, and you know you're doing it to drive a wedge between us. And in fact, Dan Holloway, who bless his heart on Drinking Bros, a right-winger, was like, you're right. That's why they call it a wedge issue, because it's supposed to drive a wedge between us. That's the right way to handle it. And so I think we all agree on that. But then you guys are saying, no, dig in.
And the other thing is, when you are the
They're not
best
saying dig in.
administration, or when, Biden is, has been the best administration for labor, for unions, fight for that. Don't be afraid of that. Don't get pushed around by these donors. Don't get pushed around by these corpos. into downplaying that, right? That's one thing that Biden did right.
They find the most unpopular
If
position.
she really wants to talk to The View and she gets asked a question of like, what did, Biden do that you don't agree with, have an answer for that. But if you want to save Biden's fucking dignity, because it's awkward since you're his vice president, then give him credit for the NLRB.
Position and defend it until you lose. Why? Why would you defend a position that?
Unfortunately, his record on that isn't perfect. The rail workers strike, he didn't do the right thing on that. But for the most part, Biden's been head and shoulders better than the post-Reagan Democrats.
Deeply unpopular.
No one's saying dig in, but don't abandon members of your community. It's the right thing to do to stand
But
up.
who's
to them.
Yeah, bring people together. Don't push people apart. We've got
Exactly.
more in common than we have separate. We've got more in common no matter who you are. No matter.
That's what I'm saying about everybody, about black people, about black issues. Like the white liberals don't want to talk about that. And the white Democrats. And they throw black people under the bus. Same thing. And they don't want to talk about police reform and this and that. They don't really want to talk about that. Voting rights. And they don't care about their issues. But you want to do a real movement to bring everybody, a real populist movement, to bring everybody together. This all becomes that really some of these liberals, they really just want to be for themselves. The white identity politics, I would call it. People call that too. They want to be for themselves. They don't care about other groups. Other minority groups. They just care about their own. Some of these white liberals. That's what it is.
No matter whether you're trans, cis, gay, straight, whatever. No matter whether you're like a, born in America, American citizen, or no matter whether your papers are not in order and you're undocumented. You got more in common with the person harvesting your breakfast, packing your breakfast, making it so you can afford to eat, than you do with these fucking corpos like Peter Thiel and Elon Musk trying to demonize them to make you miserable, to steal your social security. Fuck those assholes. Fuck those corpos.
Them.
Harris did.
How?
The last couple weeks of the campaign, she distanced herself from trans issues, from trans rights.
Not just the last few weeks, right? There was no acknowledgement of anything involving like trans people at the DNC.
What trans rights, Jordan? Which trans rights? They do not have the right to demand free surgery when they come here as undocumented
Who's doing
immigrants.
that? Who's doing that?
That's not the issue, man. Oh my God. In the Harris campaign, they didn't talk about black people. Well, they did. They kind of abandoned black people in a way. They did the same thing with black people, actually. He said they abandoned they did the same thing with black people. They offered black people peanuts, but they still voted for Democrats, though. So some of the black men wanted Trump, but they still voted Democrats. So they abandoned black people too. In a way, yeah, they kind of abandoned them. The last week, maybe a month, they did something about Bitcoin and something else, and the weed, and some other shit she did. Or make marijuana legal in Bitcoin. I don't know, something with the Bitcoin. And another thing for black men, or black people. That was for black people. I should say black men, but she did that. But then that was a month, 3 weeks before the election, or a month. Then she didn't really talk about black issues, so she kind of strayed away from black issues. Any identity, she strayed away. She didn't play the identity politics. But they argue that they played identity politics by making her the nominee. So they played into their hands. But she herself, they didn't really go into didn't want to. That's why they didn't go into identity politics. That's why she strayed away from the trans people, and even the black people. She moved away from the black people too. I mean, it's not just the trans. She kind of moved away from that. The last 2 weeks, maybe a month, she did something. She mentioned something about something for black people. But the last 3 weeks, she moved away from it.
That's what was literally Kamala Harris's position in 2020.
It was a
Did you not see that?
hypothetical. It was a hypothetical.
But no,
Yeah.
It was the law, and it was the law under Trump as well.
Yep.
Right? That if you go to your doctor and you seek a certain kind of care, even if you're a prisoner, you will get it, right? That is a question between doctor and fucking patient.
Who is doing it? Is it happening at scale?
It's not even hypothetical.
How
It was
much
actually-
money are we actually spending on
Jordan,
that?
He is so full of shit. He's so, and
Yeah.
again, how many people do you think this fucking applies to?
No.
You should know when somebody says you got to watch out. Like, literally, the Republicans' ad was you got to watch out for those trans immigrants, those trans undocumented immigrants, right? That should click somewhere. What? Is that really a thing? Is that really a line item in anybody's budget? Or is that you making up a group to demonize, to distract me from the fact that you are stealing my Social Security, Elon Musk?
Actually, policy under Trump too. It's not a hypothetical. It was policy, and Trump even
There you go. That's how you run with it. That's how you run with it.
continued it. You could have fought back that way, but guys.
I don't know how Cenk was expecting to do it. To like, what is Cenk's policy? You come up with a bill of like the no trans healthcare for immigrants policy, right? You write a very weirdly specific bill. Do you know what happens when you write that bill? You take a phenomenon that is an edge case that is not really happening, and you give it life. You give it reality. You present it, well, there's a bill about it. This must be a problem. There must be a problem if they had to write a bill about it.
Peaceful up here, but now there are freaking
Yeah, look, all I can say, Cenk needs to listen to his nephew more and his co-host less.
Oh.
And even if Kamala Harris did or did not defend it, you guys are defending it. It's the
They're
leftists
not.
who are saying this is the hill we're going to die on. Well, that's really ridiculous.
No, we're saying it did.
It's you that's saying weakness is fucking strength, you coward. You fucking coward.
They're not saying anything about that. They're not a big issue, man. They made it an issue. They didn't do anything. The Democrats made it an issue. They didn't do anything about it. They didn't do any response to it. Any good response to it. That's why. It's not the left. It's the Democrats. They're no Democrat. They're not left. The leftists are not pushing this. I don't see them. I mean, they're not really pushing this.
It's like
For
we're
the
being
election,
dragged
he's saying.
onto that hill.
He is saying that
When
costs
they
for the
ask,
election.
look, guys, here's how the progression goes. So they go, okay, we hate gay people. Oh, that didn't work. But back in 2004, they go, okay, well, we hate gay marriage. Oh, that did work. Okay. Now, at the time, I go, wait, are we talking about constitutional
There were people that threw, gay marriage under the bus, right? That wanted to distance, and it was a mainstream position for certainly a presidential candidate to not say that they endorse
No.
gay marriage, or to even give some kind of Clinton-esque answer about it.
rights? Are we talking about fundamental human rights? Okay, I know it's not a winning issue for us, but I'm going to fight on that, and I believe in gay marriage, but I could make an effective case for it. I could convince people of it, and we did. We fought and fought and fought, and we convinced people, right? So then they go, nowadays, they come back and they go, okay, well, attacking gay people is not working anymore, so let's attack trans people. It's so transparent what they're doing. And by the way, I would love for a Democratic politician to say that what I'm saying now. Do you see how they're trying to drive hate towards trans people. Okay, so they attacked it at the core of their rights. It doesn't work. Then if you remember in the beginning, Trump said they shouldn't be in the military.
You're making light to it, though. You're making a big issue of this. We're right into the culture wars. That's what TYT does. Right into the culture wars. I mean, you're going right into it, making it a big issue that it shouldn't be a big issue.
And that didn't work. And we're defending because that is core rights, right? Willing to die for our country? Are you kidding me? Of course we defend. And they're weirdos that attack people in bathrooms. No, that's mainly straight guys, let's be honest, okay? So we defend and it doesn't work. Then you get to, they should be able to play in the WNBA and Olympics, etc. And I go, well, I think that's up to the WNBA and that's up to the Olympics, and I'm not.
But they'd already made their decision, Cenk, and they made the right decision because they're sports science and they know scientists and they know what the fuck they're talking about, and they came up with reasonable policies that demanded a certain amount of HRT and certain like blood levels of hormones. Or I mean, it's different in every sports league, right? But the sports leagues were doing fine with it.
And that's not happening either. It's not happening. There's no trans people in the sports. I mean, there's like 1%, even not even 1%, not even 1% of it. Overall sports, the major sports, even the local sports, it's not even a big thing. And they're just making this up. The Republicans, it's not really happening. That's the thing, and he's buying into it. Cenk Uygur, he's obsessed with trans sports. Him and Anna Kasparin.
They're actually not the ones that sold us out, Cenk. You are. You fucking coward.
Sure that I agree
You
with
bloviating bag of wind.
and let alone the fact that I know that's a
You useless has-been.
position, and it is not a core right to play in the WNBA. It just isn't. But every other leftist goes, nope, Cenk, you're a fascist, and you're agreeing with the right wing. We love this issue.
Would you allow any other woman to be disenfranchised from sports then?
I disagree. No leftist is talking about this, man. Maybe this woman commentator is. I mean, but no one is saying this is not a big issue though. You made it a big issue. That's the point I'm making. I talked about this before. Okay, this woman's a trans woman or whatever. But she has a different view. But I think it's not a big issue though. Since she disenfranchised in the world. But it's not a big issue though. It's not a big. It might be so. It could be. So there's been certain cases, yeah. There shouldn't be. In certain cases that they shouldn't play. And the Olympic boxer is actually is actually a woman. He was born a woman. She wasn't a trans person, so you can't add that to it. Even not the issue, the TYT was wrong. They were on the wrong side. But to me, this is not a big issue, the trans sports thing. I mean, that's the thing with me. So I don't really care about it. I mean, it's stupid.
If it's not a key right, should JD Vance be able to abolish women's sports? It's not a key right. Why are we fighting for it? It doesn't really. It's sports. It's sports. What does it matter? Let the Republicans have their way.
Of course they should. We're going to defend this 200%. And then we got smeared. So you guys made a giant mistake.
No. I think most leftists want to talk about the economy. I think most leftists want to talk about workers' rights and free health care and affordable
That's what
housing.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's not a big issue about trans sports. He's lying that the left is doing this. Most of them not. Maybe the one or two activists. But that's their business. But maybe the activists. But they can do what they want. It's not the whole left. One or two activists. It's not the whole left.
But there are these fringe issues.
Yeah, Cenk knows anatomy and physiology better than sports scientists. I forgot Omega Star.
Brought to the forefront by Democrats.
Davy Cliff super chatted $9.99. Joe actually flanked Obama on gay marriage.
Outcome of
being
elections.
online.
I mean, look, you're gonna get attacked by Silly and Billy.
And then he goes, same thing as Medicare for all. No, not the same thing.
Let's go back a little bit, folks.
An amount of HRT and certain like blood levels of hormones.
Let's go forward a little
Or I mean, it's different.
Outcome of
being
elections.
online.
I mean, look, you're gonna get attacked by Silly and Billy, regardless, and they're gonna take your audience from you because you don't deserve your audience. Like I said, you're a has-been, Jay,
Exactly.
and the left can do without you.
Talking about normie voters, people who aren't chronically online like we are, and so these topics make their way to the mainstream because Democrats will do exactly that. They'll say,
Like, I mean, come on, TYT is yesterday's garbage.
for
Their views are in the toilet.
defending this issue when
Their
you
reputation is in the toilet.
don't have to defend the issue at all. You can. I'm again saying you can hand wave it away and
Their
talk
standards are in the toilet.
about things that really matter.
Jules,
which
that's not what the leftists did. You're saying the exact opposite of what they did. They didn't wave it away. They said,
I'm saying that's what the people with the mic, the people who normie voters listen to, didn't do that. They started talking about, oh, we're being attacked by the left for having a
The left
reason.
didn't do that. How you know that, Cenk? So one or two leftists, one or two activists did that. So the whole left agrees with them. They didn't. It's mainly just they don't really care about it.
Position.
I'll
So why are you
disagree.
talking about it at all? Why don't you talk about it within the fringe context that it exists and where it rounds down to zero?
Why don't you talk about something that matters to people's bottom line at the end of the day?
Are decisions to be made?
If you want to skip this issue, the best way is to not respond and to respond with something better, something that people care about most. Or people don't care about the health care of like undocumented prisoners. People care about whether or not they have money in their pocket at the end of the day. It's the Democrats' job to make sure that that happens.
You have to support trans rights, but doing it through
Word on the street is that Silly and Billy are secretly vampires. Yeah, they're clout vampires. They're audience stealers. Is that what they stream audience stealers? Yeah.
Yeah.
crazy.
And let's cry about it. What's up, Corn Pop? Thank you for the Twitch Prime sub.
How it looks to voters. It looks like
That is a nice floral shirt. You're right, Corn Pop.
the entire Democratic Party represents
Good to see you.
this fringe issue that mainstream Democrats want to defend against.
Jules, you're now
Most people
saying,
aren't online like that.
you're now saying
Yeah.
that you agree with the position that I had, which is wave it away. This is not the hill
But you're
to
not
die
waving
on.
You said surrender, sir. You didn't say wave it away. You
Oh.
said wave the white flag. Because again, you're a coward.
Exactly. You didn't say wave it away. You go right into the argument. You made it bigger. Instead of making it says transport, you're making it a big issue of it. But you're not ignoring it.
And when I said that, the entire leftist ecosystem collapsed in on itself. How dare you! We fight on this issue!
The entire leftist ecosystem, that's a lie. Come on. The entire left, the far left, like Do Dissidents, RBN, those guys. There's a lot of people on the left. It's only maybe a few people argue with him. Maybe some of the activists who have that issue. I mean, who Windows communities did. They attacked him. Maybe some of the trans people attacked him, but that's not the left. I mean, it's not all the left. They're leftists probably, but it's not all the left. The entire leftist. This guy hates the leftists, folks. This is proof. He says the entire left attacked me. Right, the garbage. This is a garbage. This guy is a grift. These people are grift.
Well, how did it turn out for us? And look, Jordan, why stipulate?
Nobody fucking fought on the issue. What are you talking about, Cenk?
We all
They literally rejected the opportunity to push back on that narrative. And I'm talking about the Harris campaign.
agree.
I'm talking about what matters.
She lost the issue because she loves her corporate donors. She's talked about how I have 90 corporate
The
CEOs.
guy on the right looks like a mime. Oh yeah, kind of. Or yeah, like they're right.
Who agree with me, Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney, and agrees with me, and that's what cost her the election. But it was not a small issue that the number one ad that they ran.
That's what the Democrats need to do next time. They need to run a mime. Everybody loves mimes. Mimes are great.
and the polling indicated that this was the one that worked.
They can do a thing where they're like,
You mean so she lost because of this one little ad? That's what you're saying. He's ridiculous. But she didn't lost because of that. She lost because of who she is. Anyways, you know what? I'm gonna end this stupidness. It's garbage,
like,
man.
what? You're stuck. You're trapped in a capitalist in a late stage hyper capitalist hellscape. They should get a mime.
The best. And there's other things, guys. We said there was real crime.
Silly and Billy interviewed
Crime
Jordan.
is
I
real.
remember that.
Oh, now he's doing the crime shit. He's doing this. The Democrats, the leftists hate crime.
Interviewed winners and losers.
Leftists think there's no crime.
Shouts out to winners and losers.
It's in your imagination. Well, and they claim to represent Democratic voters. Then here in California, we had Prop 36.
A Nintendo says if Kamala Harris stuck to calling the GOP weird and laid out a recovery plan, we'd be entered in week 2 of Trump calling it a rigged election.
Anti-crime bill in California, not
He does crime.
Alabama. In
Stuck in an echo chamber, that's right.
California, it passed with
He's doing
70% of the vote. I told you that.
But crime is down, you dickhead. And California is different from New York. Maybe crime is California. I don't know about crime. I mean, there's a lot of police corruption there, and there's police gangs there. I guess so. You want to do more police? So do you think if you get more police and cops, the crime is going to go down? That's what these guys believe. TYT does. Cenk believes that.
Democratic voters do not agree with extreme leftists. They care about crime, and they don't want to pay for the extreme leftists care about crime too, but they don't want a fucking police state like you do, you idiot. And this guy is ridiculous. Etc., etc. Get past it. And every left-wing show online is like, don't get past it, don't get past it.
Hubert, that's like the weirdest thing you could say.
Talk about this for months and months and months until we lose every goddamn election.
Is that your gimmick?
I don't think it's like a totally fair characterization of how people are responding to that topic or how they should engage with it. I think what's important is the context with what he was talking about was that she lost because of the extreme left.
Exactly.
And those 3 issues that he laid out, which is not true. This guy has worked on 2 campaigns.
Thank you. That's the whole point. And Cenk bot, you think he's saying it's not the case. That's the whole point. He's blaming the left, and I think Cenk is blaming the left too.
That ran against Trump, he lost both of them. He certainly.
Did I know that Kamala started the war in Ukraine? No, but I know that Kamala declared war on your mom.
Knows losing, but he does not know how to win. And when you think about what motivates him to say it, it's much easier to scapegoat progressives and the left, and as he threw in later in a jab at Bernie Sanders, Senator Sanders, and like maybe progressives in the squad, it's easier for him to scapegoat those policies, those people, that voting bloc, rather than look inward. Because to do that, he would find fault with himself, find fault with the donor class, and ultimately it would shake up and change the paradigm.
Anyway, whoever I called a dumbass, I apologize. That was mean. I shouldn't say that.
Within the party, view the party. They're unwilling to do that because they are beholden to corporate interests. On that, we agree. But the thing is, ultimately, at the end of the day, you stand up for these things because it's the right thing to do, not because they're popular. And like you gained ground on marriage equality and gay rights, it might be a similar and long fight, but you shouldn't abandon it or
Thetford Farms remembers?
Throw them away or throw them under the bus like Harris did simply because it's politically expedient now.
Okay, so you're okay with losing the election because you want to fight for those issues.
I don't trust that you know how to win an election, Cenk. How many have you run it? Are we going to take...
You lost, how many elections you lost? 2? In the primary, you didn't go nowhere. I mean, in California, he was badly beaten.
Advice on winning elections from somebody who has only shown that he can lose them? Like, even if they let you run, even if they, even if you were on the ballot, Cenk, You would lose.
You just said
He
it.
already lost. That's
Okay,
not what I
alright.
showed you the data. No one cares. No one cares. It's the last ranking
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
Delusional.
You're not delusional.
$40 in ads.
The economy
You're
was the
delusional.
number one issue for people.
You're delusional. You just hate leftists. The Cenk hates the left. Sorry, folks.
No one's going in there but I'm mad about trans people, so I'm going to vote for Trump. No one did that.
You're 100% wrong.
The economy, every poll,
I think some people did. But the Republicans did. But not Democrats, not independents.
exit poll said it was the economy.
Okay, at the very end of that ad, which worked spectacularly, you guys are denying.
On the plus side, okay? On the plus side, the mainstream media that's pushing this narrative that it is the fault of trans people, of Medicare for all supporters, and of extreme leftists, whatever the fuck that means in the United States, right? That side is losing influence. That's not where people watch the election. Now, I'd be lying to you if I said that the establishment of the alternative media is going stronger, a lot stronger, and is astroturfed on the right, and is astronomically, got more reach. So, I mean, that's a bad thing. But I will say that these assholes that are trying to sell a narrative of purge the left from the Democratic Party to preserve the neoliberal policies, make those policies further to the center, I will tell you they're losing. No one is watching them. They are waning, and nobody cares what they fucking have to say.
Reality here. Every poll.
And it's funny that somebody who was very early in the alternative online media, like Cenk is missing that boat. He is going to be on the side of the legacy media.
Yep.
Dude, it worked spectacularly.
Yet no one walked out and told a pollster that's why they voted.
Yeah.
Not a single person.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, the American people loved it, guys. You were right. Oh my God, they loved it. They want you to run on it again. That's such a genius idea.
That's why Trump won.
Okay, so how many times?
They didn't run on it, dumbass. That's not the reason. Cenk knows it too. He just hates the left. Maybe he hates the trans people. Who knows? Oh, maybe he hates the trans people. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
I'm sorry to tell you that was not the number one issue. That was but it didn't help.
Oh my God.
Help. And besides,
Winners and losers, we should play Rocket League sometime.
which I also don't agree with you.
You're probably better than me though. I never practice.
I don't think paying for undocumented immigrant surgery is somehow some moral, great, amazing thing that we have to fight for. We have a giant number of issues in America.
But they didn't fight for it. Nobody fought for it. I mean, nobody wasn't an issue. Nobody fight for the damn thing. I mean, even the leftists didn't fight for it. You talking about?
If they came in and asked for hip replacement surgery, I wouldn't be in favor of it. Why are we dying on a hill? We don't have them.
What? Okay, yeah, no. What did he just? Did he just say? Yeah, they don't deserve medical care at all. Let them suffer. Let them languish.
Half of us, in terms of Democratic voters, all right, last thing.
Kick them out with their fucked up hip and all.
Can you guys be honest and say,
Is that what he's saying? Is he really embracing the fucking darkness that way?
most Democratic voters agree with me and I?
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
You guys?
Yeah, most Democratic voters agree with me. They want Medicare for all. We just talked about it. We
No,
just agree with
but
it.
Jordan,
That would
we
be an
all agree
extension
to
of it.
that.
That'd be an extension of it. So
That would
people,
be an
Yeah.
extension.
if you're incarcerated,
Great
you
point.
don't get
Exactly.
medical coverage.
Yep.
What do you think Medicare for all is?
Yep.
Does it cover
Think.
gender affirming care? Because in my world, it does.
Okay. God bless you. You run the next.
Yeah, no, seriously. Oh my God, no, he doesn't. He doesn't.
No.
But they would come for that too.
So
They would
prisoners don't need medical care. They just die in the damn prison. That's what Cenk believes. Oh my God. So if somebody gets shot, you just let them die in the damn prison.
come for that.
Or somebody gets stabbed, you don't get surgery or something. Or let's let them die in the prison.
Trump has spoken adamant about coming for, I mean, not just whether or not Medicaid pays for stuff like that, but whether or not adults can get, gender-related health care.
Next election on that. I want the rest of the country to know that the great majority of Democratic voters do not believe in those issues. They believe in protecting everyone's constitutional rights.
I want you to know, Cenk, that you're old as fuck and you don't know what you're talking about.
But they don't agree with these fringe issues. And here,
I want everybody to know that Cenk Uygur is a fraud, and he hates the left. And he don't believe in Medicare for all. Jordan's right.
here we are making the same exact mistake where we are
Go follow your co-host onto Substack and onto Irrelevancy.
defending something that is indefensible, and whether it, like, you're falling back on this simple thing of like, it's not the number one issue, so it didn't hurt. No, that is not a logical connection. It doesn't have to be the number one issue for it to hurt our chances of winning.
I think he meant conclusion.
Besides which, again, I don't agree. I don't agree that more crime is such a great thing.
Well, crime. No one's saying crime's a great thing. The left does not doesn't want crime. I mean, they want police. They want policing, but they want proper policing. And putting more police is not the answer. It's more than that. I mean, it's a start. You could do that. That's not the only answer to crime. Fighting crime. That's a Cenk Uygur thing. Just add more cops and that'll be okay.
Or that crime doesn't exist. Or that taking a whole bunch of felonies.
No one's saying crime doesn't exist. That's garbage. You're a garbage man. This guy's an idiot.
That were terrible crimes and turning them into misdemeanors is somehow justice. It's not justice. It's the exact opposite.
Crime exists, but tough on crime policies were a failure. We tried that. We tried broken windows policing. It doesn't fucking work.
Thank you.
Crime rates were high as fuck.
Thank you. And about he believes in stop and frisk too. Jim believes that they should stop and frisk and harass black people. That's what he believes.
Overwhelming majority of Democratic voters agree with me. But what we do on the Young Turks, guys, and the most important part of this entire conversation is, did we not know this was going to be a debate? We did. That's why we said it in the beginning. But we have these conversations no matter who you agree with. We air out these opinions.
You're full of crap. The one making a debate show instead of a friggin' call yourself a progressive movement show to do movements. I mean, it shouldn't be like a what you call it for news. Shouldn't be a news show either. You do proper. You do fake news now. Now you do fake news like Venezuelan gangs, fake news.
And then you get to make up your mind. I love that Jordan and Jules passionately defend their position, and that's how we do it on the Young Turks. We'll be back. Thanks for watching the Young Turks. I really appreciate it.
Your positions are completely
Jerk.
The
young jerks.
ridiculous, and they are what caused Trump to become president. But I appreciate you being on here to say that. That's weird.
That's crazy.
That's weird. That's super weird. Cenk, you're a fucking weirdo. I don't know what to say. I used to respect you. What happened? I watched TYTs a little. I found MR fast. Fortunately for politics, that's bull crap. Cenk, majority of our party believes in no bigotry. He's acting like they're honest, except his entire company. Yes! Oh my god, yes. Massive hypocrite. The home of progressives, my ass. And we're not just talking about...
Yeah, Cenk's a union buster too. That's another thing.
About social issues either. We're talking about union issues that are designed to put food on people's tables. And to control the exploitation that invariably happens under capitalism. We're talking about an integral part of any kind of social contract that the Democratic Party is going to try to enforce in order to make capitalism livable.
No, folks. Ha!
Oh, you're playing hoops. Yeah, I've never tried that.
I think I'm gonna end this, folks. Cenk Uygur hates the left. A good commentary by what's her name? Isla. I don't know, her name's Eileen Seller, whatever her name is. No comment chick. Yeah. No, she just pop on my feed sometimes, but yeah, she's straight out leftist. But yeah, that's Cenk's a fraud. TYT's a fraud. I'm assuming I'm gonna be done with these guys soon. And these guys, I respect the leftists. They're on the show. But him and Anna are terrible. They're really right wingers. And they should be, I don't know, this show shouldn't be called TYT. It should be like a debate show. Why not have a debate show instead of a news show? To do propaganda for certain things, for the so-called Democrats, actually. They do shit for the Democrats. I mean, they're not really leftists, they're for the Democrats. If they're to the left center, they're really centrist. They're not really leftists. So they shouldn't be around. They should call themselves differently. Like a centrist show. That's what they say. If they're honest, they should call themselves a centrist. Change your name to a centrist show. Like a mainstream media show. That's what they really are. To be honest to the audience. But they're not. I'm out, folks.